Hello and welcome to the final part of this REDSCAN Pro series introduction. My name is Mark Cosgrave. I'm the Divisional Manager here at Optex, and today in this webinar we're going to be looking at some additional technical information for the setup for the REDSCAN Pro series. If you're watching this and you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, I would recommend that after this to go back and have a look at the YouTube videos that are on our Optex Europe channel. They do give supplementary advice about comparisons against the previous models, and then also out the box information which will be extremely helpful as you come to specify and install the product in the future. If you are watching this live, you're welcome to ask questions in the dashboard. There are a lot of you again today, so thank you very much. If you do get the opportunity, please pop a question in there and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. If you're watching this and it's a recording, you're welcome to get in contact with us on the details which are at the end of the webinar. So at the end of part 2, Milton had put together the REDSCAN into a PoE plus switch plus into a laptop, and that is the configuration that I have here today. My laptop is connected into a PoE switch, which is then connected into a REDSCAN, which is in the car park. So you're now going to see how I'm going to connect to the unit, and then how I'm going to program it and manage the environment of which it's been set. To connect into the REDSCAN, we now use a browser. We recommend using Chrome. So in the past, you would have used REDSCAN Manager. Our software to access to the REDSCANs no longer necessary, so we're utilizing a browser. So we're going to do that now. We're going to connect into the unit. Now, the default IP address for the REDSCAN is 192.168.0.126. Now that I've changed to .128, so you'll see that now. That's just that was part of the setup that we did. So we'll just now move on to Chrome, and then I'll put in the 192.168.0.128. Now the first thing it's going to do is prompt me for my login details. The login details you would have changed in the setup. So this is really important that you remember the login details that you've used and keep them somewhere safe. So once you've logged into the unit, you'll get the loading screen. Now, as I said, all I've done so far is just turn it on. So at the moment, no calibration, no setting, no nothing. So that's why you're seeing a lot of information on the left-hand side, a lot of sensing data. It's viewing to its maximum, which is 50 by 100, which is a large detection area for the area that I'm looking to cover. So as you'll see, we have a new dashboard. Dashboard's really clean, I think. I really like it. I'm just going to quickly run you through. So in the top left-hand corner, these are the viewing options. So this is where you're able to zoom in and out, go back to the home screen, which is this part. You also have the option there, you have the 2 arrows which are going left and right. If I just click on that very briefly, it'll show you the camera image. So it takes a second for it to buffer, and there you go. So you can see the camera image, and that then reflects, if we just click it back again, to where you see those little blue circles at the moment. If you are looking to change, you can use the flips. So if you want to orientate it depending on where the sensor is installed and how you want it to maybe make it a bit easier for you to set up, so you can change that. Top right hand corner, you're going to see the login, who you are, the user. So I'm logged in as root, which was the admin, and then you have the little question mark. Question mark is the instruction manual. So you click on that, it'll open up another tab and give you the full instruction manual when it comes to setup of the system. So really helpful to have a read through that. If you have any specific questions, you might find that they're answered in that first. In the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see 4 options here. We have the full screen option, so you click that and it'll full screen it. You have the record option, where it will record what you're seeing. You have the snapshot option. as well, which is really helpful if you want to send us something, if you see something that you're not quite sure, or if you're looking for some recommendations. And then the other one is Profile 1. So with the RLS Pro series, or REDSCAN Pro series, you're able to have two different profiles. What that means is each unit has an input, and that input you can create different profiles, different detection profiles. That's really helpful, say during the day you have a large area that needs to be maintained, but you don't need to go into full alarm should there be an activation, but during the night you need it to go into full alarm. You're able to switch it by using a timer or a security system to give it an input, or access control system. You can switch the detection areas depending on your requirements. So that's a really helpful setting that we have there. In the right hand side you'll see that there is a little arrow as well. This just gives you a quick look, a quick kind of status alert. There's a lot happening at the moment, so the status bar is there at the moment. You'll see on the left hand side, this is all, so we're currently tracking 49 different objects which are dotted around. That's because it's not been set correctly, so it's just tracking everything. You can see there on the right hand side then at the status, that's firing output number 6. So we'll keep going down. Now you'll notice in the bottom left hand corner there's actually a settings tab. So this is where you are going to make all of your adjustments when it comes to the parameters for the sensor, communication, everything comes from this particular, everything gets programmed from this area. So the first thing you'll notice, it has detection range. Detection range is where you're going to be looking at the standardizing of the sensor. Is it outdoors, is it indoors? You know, what's the tilt angle, is it horizontal or vertical? So I've set my device from when we initiated and configured the system that it's used outdoors, and then I've left it on automatic. So it knows how it's being tilted. My device is horizontal. There is also an option for an expansion mode. The expansion mode is something that if you've used an RLS 3060SH in the past, it's a feature that we used in that. It's where the sensor has the capacity to see beyond its stated detection distance. It's helpful in certain applications, but if you are going to use it, we do recommend that you give us a call. We can talk you through some of the key parameter changes that you'll need to make. So let us know if you're going to want to use the expansion mode. It is referenced in part 1, so please go back and have a look at that part if you're not quite sure what that is. The next option down is then the Profile 1 and the Profile 2. So we talked about switching between the two. Profile 1 is the primary profile, and then you can copy and paste that into Profile 2. Yeah, I'm just going to be using Profile 1 because I'm not going to be using the input to switch between the two, so there's no need to play with that. So when you click on the detection Profile 1, this is the maximum distance that the sensor is going to be able to see. Now you have two options at this point. You can use these parameter adjustments here, so we can change the maximum detection area that we want to see, or we can click on the edit. Now this is where you have, if you don't have a uniform detection area, if you have maybe some different angles and the squares aren't easy for you to use, you can actually use the crop feature. So what we do here is we click on crop, and then all you're going to do is just to create, you just press the left mouse button, and then you can just drag it across, and you can just cut off those bits there. I don't need that bit over there. I want to create a particular pattern. It's really simple. If I just want to do let's say if I want to just do a square, if I just go up like this, and then I go across like this, and then I come down like this. Oh no, it's come down like that. There you go. So there you go. I've now created a square, where you can create other pretty patterns if you want to. That's one way of doing it. If you don't have a uniform detection field and you need to create it, you use this crop tool to be able to do that. The other option is to use the actual squares themselves. Now, my car park is square, so it makes sense, or rectangle, so it makes sense for me to use that. So I'm going to use that now. So we look detection range A. So I don't know, we're talking maybe around about 18 meters. Let's put that down about 17 meters. And then B, which is the other side. So so we're talking maybe about 7 meters on this side. You can see the detection area, and then what the depth or height is. I don't know, it's around about let's put 13 meters in. And then the offset. So the offset is where it comes into contact with a solid object, how far away from that object should the detection area be. Some adjustments right up to 1 meter away from the area. So we'll make it 1 meter away, and then we'll just hit the save button and then hit OK. So what we're doing, as I said, we're just registering how far away or the field of view that the scanner is going to detect in. So once we've done that, we need to remember to hit the apply button. So once we've hit the apply button, you can see that those areas now, detector restarts. And what we've done is we've pulled in that detection field now. So we're only going to get alarms now when they're in A1 and B1. So all of that noise on the outside completely ignores anything happens out there. We're not going to alarm. The reason it's still tracking it is should anything move from that area and then into the detection area, it can give you more of an immediate response. So it's still tracking things that are outside its detection area, but it is focused on what's inside. So we just go back to the settings now. Okay, so we go into profile 1. Now the next one down is area masking, area allocation. Now you may be familiar with area allocation, area masking. Area masking is if within that field of view, within that yellow boxes, I don't want there to be an alarm if somebody walks along this path. You use area masking for that. Or you use area allocation. Area allocation within that yellow box. Oh, I want there to be alarm A1 here, A2 here, A3, A4, A5, all the way up to 8 separate alarms that you can have, and you can build in your own areas for detection. So it's really helpful, particularly if you're looking to direct a camera to a specific location. You're able to be very precise about the area of detection, and then the area where the alarm has occurred, and then be able to direct the camera or be able to provide more feedback to the system that's monitoring. Okay, now detection. So this is where we set the parameters about what it is we're looking to detect. So the first thing you'll notice is a little tick box there that says multiple detection sensitivity. So what this means is that in different areas you can have different detection profiles. So maybe in area B1 I want to detect cars, and in area A1 I want to detect people. So you can set them up independently so that that each area is able to detect the specific object and ignore everything else, or detect both. It's very flexible. If you're using area allocation for those 8 inputs, you can have 8 different profiles if you want. So for 1 you can detect people, for number 2 you can detect cars, and for 3 you can detect planes. I don't know. It really is a flexible sensor, and this is the power of using LiDAR technology, is that you're able to be extremely accurate in what it is you're looking to detect, and precise about how you want the sensor to behave in its environment. So once you've set that, so you have we're going to use just a global detection parameter. The next thing that you have there is detection target. So whether you want to track the target, so mobile, what they call mobile object, which is a detection, and then that moves a certain distance before it goes into alarm. So that's the one option that you have. The other option that you have is presence. What that means is you have your field of view, your orange area, and if something appears, it goes into alarm. It's just about how long that object is in the detection area. So those are the 2 options that you have for detection. Then you have minimum track size. Obviously the width is the distance. Now with the laser in a horizontal application, you're looking to detect an intruder between their shoulders and their waist. That's their center mass, shall we say. So that's the area that you're really looking to detect on in a horizontal application. If you're using it in a vertical application, it's about height. So how tall the person is and how long they're in the detection area. So slightly different type of detection for horizontal and vertical applications. So once you've done that, you hit the save button, hit OK. There we go, we're done. It will ask you to apply those settings. We can now apply those settings and everything's now applied. The detector will restart and then import all those things. So the next thing we want to check on is detection advanced, this is called. Now these are the automated parameters of the system. So this is looking about environmental resistance, whether it auto adjusts to its environment, should you have snow laying on the floor for instance. If you want to adjust the sensitivity of the masking or of whether you want a continuous alarm rather than an alarm for a duration. So this is all about the automated processes built into the system. So if you want to make any adjustments, we'll just quickly scroll down so you can see it. Anti-mask, as we said, alarm duration, anti-masking, anti-rotate, soil on the window, DQ output. So these are all the automated parameters that are built into the unit. You can make adjustments to them if necessary. The next option then is that we have is output terminals. So on the RLS, on both units, the RLS 3060V and the 5100V, there are 6 outputs. Now those outputs are programmable. You can have output 1 firing for lots of different reasons, as you see here. So if area 1 or area A1 and area B1 activate, you're going to get an output through, you're going to get an alarm on output 1, and then whether you want it to be normally closed or normally open. So in this particular instance, we can just work our way through. We can take them all off. You can set them to whatever you want, really. It's entirely up to you. So you could use output 1 for alarm, output 2 could be for anti-masking, and output 3 could be for tamper. And then all you do is save and then OK, and then hit the apply. Don't forget to apply the settings. Now what we've done now, if you look at the taskbar on the right hand side, you will see that the event that's coming up at the moment is tamper, which is on the device. That's because the lid's off of it at the moment, and that tamper is firing output number 3 because that was what we set it for. So you can see there that it's working well. So we go back to the settings stage. Right then, okay, so then just go through just to finish off. We also have detection profile copy. This is where you have the list. If you want to use profile 2, you can use that and then switch between them. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to be using profile 1. The next section we're looking at is event codes. So event codes, if you are familiar with the REDSCAN system, we have our own SDK, which is called the Red Wall event codes, and these are integrated into existing systems, VMSs, PSIMs, things like that. Now what that means is that if you do need to replace an old 3060 LRSH for the new series, this is where you will come to ensure that the system communicates, or that the device communicates in the same way as it did in the past. So you don't have to worry if you're looking to upgrade a laser system. You don't have to worry if it's backwards compatible. It is. So you won't have any problems, any troubles. You just can insert the cable. You can just insert the sensor, and then set it up via here, and it will communicate as it did in the past. So you'll be familiar with these settings. Next one down, the view. Okay, so the view, it's broken down into 2 different sections. We have laser, the video, and then also what we call menu. So the first one, the laser, this is how much information you want to see, how clean you want your display to be. Now, for instance, you may not want to show the candidates, which is all this information on the left hand side. So as I say, it's tracking at the moment 26 different objects are moving around in the intersection area. You know, you don't need to necessarily know all of that, so you can get rid of that if you wish. You can remove some of the additional information. It's as default it's set on, but you know, you may not be interested in that. It may not be necessary for you. On the video side of things, so we'll just click on that. It's going to ask you to save, and then you apply. Don't forget to apply. Now on the video side of things, you can see here, we if we wish, or if we desire to, we might want to overlay some text so that if somebody's viewing the video, they can quickly and easily know which video they're looking at. You can also set the time and the date, so you can then position it around as you see fit. The other thing that you have as well, you can decide if you want to overlay the laser line or whether you want the object detection. So you may not want the object detection, it just cleans it up a little bit if you're going to be utilizing that camera image for something else. With the menu options, so we're just going to click save again, and then apply. Remember that the apply button is at the top, so I've not applied any of these settings so far, so it's always something to keep in mind. So in the view, you also have the ability to change the units from metric to feet. If you ever want to do that, I can't see why, but maybe you might want to. But you also have this one as well, which is always show advanced settings. So there are a secondary level of settings built into the REDSCAN if you need to go beyond these current settings. The settings that are on the primary level give you enough to be able to set the system up and then communicate via SDK. If you want to go beyond that, then you need to click on the always show advanced settings. Now if I click on this now, you're going to see on the left hand side, once I hit save, you're going to see some you're going to now see some new options on that left hand side. Now these are going to give you additional options like additional features with the camera, on-viv connectivity, also be able to view the log. So we're just going to go through these bit by bit. I'm just going to finish off working my way down the list, and we'll go back to those key points. So I'm just going to finish off going down and just to make sure. So event log is one of the new, if you click off that now, we'll come back to that just quickly, briefly. So you'll see that event log isn't on there normally. So you have time and date, pretty straightforward. You need to adjust the time and the date of the system. That's how you do it. Network settings, if you want to adjust the IP address of the device, things like that, as well as the advanced settings, so whether you need to connect to a DNS server or whatever it may be. This device does, we understand, and one of the key requests that we received from past REDSCANs was to improve the network security of the device. So you're going to see far greater network security built into this unit, where it comes about the communication and then the access. It's encrypted to ensure that it uses those industry recognized security levels to stop it from being a vulnerable target. As well as the security side of things, you also have the system, so you can then look at rebooting, factory reset should you wish to do that, firmware updates if it's necessary. We will bring out language packs and probably more features, particularly utilizing the camera application and things like that. So always do check with us to make sure that you have the latest firmware. As well as that, you also have the logs. The logs will show you the system log, so access log, who's been getting onto the system. So should that be a concern for you, you're able to then look back into the access. This was something that wasn't possible in the past, so really key features. And then you have the import and export, so if you are replacing a unit and putting in a new one, this is a way of being able to extract the information and then import it back in, so you don't have to make any adjustments when it comes to creating a whole new system. So really easy, quick to just swap out a unit should it be necessary. Finally, just on this little bit, there is product information, so just when it comes to the model, serial number, things like that. So these are all helpful information for us. as well as installation information. So should it be necessary, there is some additional information that you can add into the unit for future features. So it's something to keep an eye on, that one. So we're just going to go back now, and we're going to enable we're just going to enable, clicked on the wrong button. I'm just going to connect to menu, and then I'm just going to activate this here. So hit save, okay, and then on the left hand side you'll see, ta-da, we have some new options. Now if we look down, some of the key options may not be over familiar with. So OnViv digital input and OnViv motion alarms. So this is if you're connecting the REDSCAN into an OnViv system and you want to be able to communicate utilizing an open platform system such as OnViv. Really helpful, particularly with surveillance and access control systems, which means there isn't a reliance on a dedicated integration. You can utilize the OnViv to be able to communicate with the device, and that's where you would do it from here. So you'd set the outputs here. You'll also notice as we come down the list, there's now input terminal. This is what we were talking about, that there is an input on both of the RLS Pros units, which will allow you to be able to make some adjustments. So you can switch between the profiles, which we were saying. So there's a pair of terminals. If you're short, it will activate this action. So if you want it to do an area set, or if you want it to switch, or whether you want it to just to ping the unit just to make sure that it's still alive, and it will send that heartbeat, that communication, should it be necessary. Keep working our way down. We then have camera settings. So this is if you want to make some adjustments to the camera itself. The next thing to look at is the privacy. So you know, it is a camera, so we do appreciate that the product can be installed in publicly accessible areas. So it may be necessary for you to mask off areas if you're utilizing the camera function of the stream, and you're able to then add privacy areas should that be necessary. And then finally, just the notification. So if there's an issue with the camera, it will notify it to the REDSCAN. The REDSCAN will then pass on that information to the system by creating an alarm dedicated to the camera. OnViv, so this is just the media profile. If you want to connect into the camera itself, you can see there the resolution 720, the bit rate, and then the frame rate. So the other really good feature that you'll now see is the event log. This gives you both recording of the sensor internally. So what it's able to do, what the new REDSCANs are able to do, is record what happened. Now that's really helpful. In the past, it was necessary for you to connect a REDSCAN into a computer and then maintain that connection to be able to record what was happening. So one of the key things that we've done to improve this REDSCAN is to ensure that it has inbuilt memory to be able to record what's happening. So you're able to record both pre and post alarms, and then the triggers can be an individual alarm or an area or a specific action by the sensor itself. So once you've set up the record times that you require, you can go into the play function after some time that you've seen some activations, and you can then look back to see what's actually happened to the sensor itself. So if we have a look here, we can just look through. So we had some alarms yesterday, so we'll just quickly click on them and we'll hit play. Now what this does is it'll show somebody walking around the car park, and you're able to then see what's happening. And you see it moves on to the next one. So you can see very clearly that the person's being detected, what it was, and what happened. So this is a really unique feature when it comes to this product, because you're able to visually be able to see what's happening with the sensor. Should you have any questions or any concerns or anything like that, please reach out to myself or a member of my team. We're always here to help. We're always happy to provide you with some additional information should it be necessary. Laura's there as well to provide any marketing support should it be necessary for promotions, as well as general inquiries. We also have the technical department. Should you have any technical questions regarding this sensor or anything else optics. Just leads me to say about the Mind Flash training. You will be aware that there was training on the previous models This was specifically targeted to installers. Should be available in the coming weeks, and we will let you know once it becomes available. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much. This concludes the 3-part series. As I said, if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, please visit the YouTube website. And finally, just leaves me to say thank you so much once again for your time. Really appreciate it. Please do get in contact with me or one of the team if you do have any questions. We are here to help, and very much look forward to working with you. Take care.